Oh shit, are you serious? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ironically Serious. It's your host, Taylor Hedden. I'm getting to sit down on this episode with someone who I have just really gotten to know in the last year. And I admire her so much because not only is she an incredible businesswoman, she's an amazing mom, a fantastic wife, and just someone who has so much wisdom to give. And this episode, we get into her story and how she has built one of Orlando's biggest wedding planning firms and what the journey has been like as she has created businesses, built a family, been a mom, navigated mom guilt and marriage and everything in between. Her name's Brandee Gaar, and you might know her from wedding planning. You might know her from her company, Wedding Pro CEO, which was born out of this scrappy 10 at 10 live stream she was doing during COVID. And the story is pretty impressive of how this all came to be. We talk about everything in the messy middle, from summers with literally no cash to her husband joining the business, what it has meant to be successful on their terms, mom guilt and having to step away from your kids in order to be a businesswoman, and what their marriage has been like in the process. I love Brandee so much. I spoke at her summit this summer. She was a client of mine recently. And so this is just another incredible conversation we've got to have together. And I know that if you're in the middle of building something, whether it is a career and a family and a marriage at the same time, you are going to just love this episode and the wisdom that she shares here. So before we get into it, I just want to remind you, if you love this show and you get something out of this show, the best way you can support is to share this with a friend. And of course, leave us a review on Spotify, on Apple, drop some 5 stars. This helps us show up in the algorithm and help more listeners find the show. So let's go ahead and welcome Brandee to Ironically Serious.
Yeah, my daughter's my video editor. So he does all the podcast and she does all the YouTube.
Look at you. You just have gotten your whole family involved, which I love because it's like the modern family business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Like, yeah, we could talk about that, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, let's get into it. Welcome, Brandee Gaar, to Ironically Serious.
I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be so fun. I love chatting with you all the time, Taylor. So now we can just record it.
Thank you. Yes, it's so funny. Like ever since Wedding Pro CEO, I feel like we've had all these opportunities and we'll continue to. So I'm excited to really get into like the back end and all of your life behind the scenes in this episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so for people who don't really know you, can you explain your 2 businesses and what you do in those 2 businesses?
Yeah. So I have been a wedding planner in Orlando, Florida. I've built one of the largest planning firms here in Orlando for the last 18 years, which feels so crazy to say out loud. But I started that company in 2007 and grew it. It was a wild ride. And then during COVID, a lot of coaches, right? Their story starts with during COVID. But what happened with me was that I felt just incredibly blessed. As difficult as COVID was, right? Our industry went to zero in during COVID, the wedding industry. I felt incredibly blessed that I had a team. We were able to keep our team employed for the most part. And I had a lot of really great connections because I'd been in business for so long. So we're trying to navigate this, and I have a team to bounce things off of. I have really great connections across the country that I can bounce things off of. And I noticed that there were a lot of like solo business owners who were just like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do we do with a cancellation? What do we do with refunds? What, like they're just freaking out. And so in March, almost as soon as COVID kind of shut us down here in Florida, I started going live on Facebook every day. And I just would say, like, here's what we're doing in our company. Here's how we're navigating this. Here's what happened. And I honestly, up to that point, the crazy thing is like, I had tried to go live a couple times before that for various things. And I just would like sweat through my shirt. I was throwing up. Like I hated it. I would freak out every time. This felt so different. It was just like, I'm literally just going to come on here, ask me a question. If you're struggling with something, let's work it out together. And it wasn't like I know better. It was just, I have all these resources that solo businesses didn't have. And so we just kind of were talking through things. And so that became what we called 10 at 10. And so from March to October, I went live on Facebook every single day at 10 a.m. for about 10 minutes. And I would just talk about what was going on between the closures and the reopenings and what the rules meant, all these things. And it was wild. And people loved it. Though I will say what's interesting about it looking back is, I mean, sometimes we would have like one person tune in and I would still do
Mm.
it every single day. And don't get me wrong, it was so defeating. It's so defeating. But then I would get these messages of people either watch the replay or just even one person that was like, oh my gosh, you don't understand how much I needed to hear that. And so sometimes I tell business owners now, like when you think no one's watching, keep doing it because
Mhm.
it's like how you get in the game, right? It's how you learn. I mean, now I'm so comfortable on camera because of things like that. So I did that to October. We stopped because it was kind of like everything was reopening and at least in Florida. And then Clubhouse came. And
Ah, I
do
forgot
you
about
remember Clubhouse?
Clubhouse.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. I feel like it's like it rose and fell so
So
fast
fast.
that everybody's kind of like, "Oh my gosh, Clubhouse." It feels like this like nostalgic thing, but it wasn't that long ago. So Clubhouse became extremely popular in like
Mhm.
November, December of 2020. And we were completely reopened in Florida, but most of the
Yep.
country wasn't, right? And so we people were on it like crazy. And I remember my husband saying to me, you should really try to get on this app. Like everyone is talking about it. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Anyway, I finally get on one night and I was hooked. I was like, this is the best thing ever. I don't have to do my hair and makeup. I can
Mhm.
join a room, bop around, like be cleaning, pulling weeds, making dinner, whatever, and be in these rooms. So we ended up creating what we called the morning show for wedding pros. And it was again
Love.
10 a.m. every single day. And we did that from right? Maybe the week before Christmas of 2020 until end of July of 2021. And we did it every single day. And
With
that was the
Clubhouse.
catalyst. Clubhouse. Yep, we did it on
Clubhouse, got it.
Clubhouse. And that was the catalyst to my business, honestly, because oh, to my coaching business. It was wild, honestly, Taylor, because it was like hundreds of people would join my show every morning. And I mean, I was like not known at all in the coaching space. Here in my market, of course, I had a little bit more like stability, right? But
Right.
I wasn't known as a coach by any means. And hundreds of people would join these rooms and ask questions. And then, like, coaches that were well known would say, hey, I'd love to join you for your morning show and talk about this topic, almost
Yeah.
like a podcast. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, which even brought more clout. And so my husband started taking notes because that was one of the interesting things about Clubhouses was like, this may not last forever. How can we get these people to move to another platform? Right. And so we would take notes every day. He would listen to the show. He had like a format and he would take notes of the show. So if you couldn't make it live, there was also no replay
Mm.
option. And so we would say, if you want to join our email list, these get sent out every morning. And we just had a database of every show we'd ever done. And it was
Wow.
like all the bullet points. So people joined that. That's how we built our email list. So anyway, all of that. And then I started coaching in 2021. And then, yeah, it's built up from there. So those are my two businesses.
And the second business is Wedding Pro CEO for those, because I don't think you mentioned it, for those
Thank
who
you.
don't know.
Yes, I did
Yeah.
it. Yes. Yeah. Wedding Pro CEO, which we changed. My podcast was called She Who Dares in the beginning when we kind of had all those live shows and things like that. Cause I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like it was
Mhm.
like, I don't know. We just talk about something. So the podcast really didn't have a great title because we didn't even know what we were talking about for the most part. Um, and so, yeah, so I want to say 2 years ago, so in
Okay.
2023, we changed the name of the podcast
Mhm.
so that people would know it was a business podcast for wedding pros.
Right.
And once we changed the name of the podcast, it was almost kind of like everything else was like, it makes more sense for it to be Wedding Pro CEO instead of just Brandee Gaar. And now, yeah, we just the world is our oyster. Like we're having so much fun building out this platform to be so much bigger than just like me coaching people. We have associate coaches, we have experts that come into the program and teach, and it's a lot bigger than me, and it's a lot of fun.
I love that your story didn't start with you wanting to be a coach because I think that's where a lot of people in the online space either they immediately kind of go down that route, which is fine,
Yeah.
or they get to a certain point in their business and they're like, well, I guess the next thing is to start teaching or start educating. You spent a lot of time in your business and then
Hmm.
this kind of just fell in your lap, and it's so different than a lot of the stories I hear. Did you ever even envision you wanted to teach in this way, or did it really feel like it just happened?
No, it definitely just happened. And what's interesting about it is my husband, I still can remember the day. As weird as this is, we have like weird memories, right? Like I remember coming into the house one day after a meeting. This was pre-COVID. And my husband was like, "You have to listen to this podcast." And it was Gary Vee. I'd never listened to a
Love
podcast in
him.
my life, right? And now I'm like a podcast junkie. I listen to them all day, every day. But at the time, I had never listened to a podcast. I want to say it was like 2019. And he said, "You have to listen to this podcast." Well, I pop it in and I'm like, I'm not listening to this guy. Like all he does is drop the F bomb all the time. Like I'm not listening to this guy. And more he would say, like, just listen to this one episode, ignore the language, just listen to this one episode. And I'm like, all right. And so my husband kept saying, I think you should start a podcast. And I'm like, about what? Like, what would I even talk about? No, I don't want to do that. So it really did all kind of just like happen where it was like, he's pushing me, like, you need to start this. In my market, I did teach a lot. So I spoke at
Mhm.
our hospitality school nearby. I would speak at, small events in the area. So in my market, I definitely
Was a
taught, but
leader.
never for yeah, and I never was paid for it. I never thought about coaching. And so yeah, it all just kind of like happened all at once where, COVID shut Blush completely down there for a
Yep.
significant period of time where I had the bandwidth. I was like, what else am
Mhm.
I gonna do? And the need was there. So I think the most interesting thing for me was the first time someone came to me who didn't know me. One
Mhm.
of my very first students is now a coach of mine, Katie Padilla.
Love
You know her
Katie.
as well. She's in your market. And then I also had another student from Boston, New England area. She's been with me since the beginning. And it was like they came and they were like, "How can I work with you?" And I'm like, "To do what?"
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
and it's like, I love what you talk about on Clubhouse. I love the way you teach things. This is what I'm struggling with. Can you help me with this? And I'm like, yeah, I can. So it
Mhm.
became just like this one off. I would just coach people. What was funny too is my family and I went on a East Coast road trip that summer. So we were like up and down the East Coast, and I would do Zoom calls. When we were traveling on travel days, I would go to the bedroom in the RV, and we had like a traveling Wi-Fi, and I would
Mhm.
do these coaching calls from the back of the RV while we would travel. So it's interesting to think back on it, but I really didn't have like, oh, I'm going to create a course. And then
Right.
honestly, even the courses we have now in Wedding Pro all evolved from like people saying,
I want
well, then
this.
how can I work with you?
Yeah.
And even the people who I would then work with one on one, we'd work 90 days together, whatever. And they're like, well, how do I keep going? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know. Like, I don't. So it
You're like,
became
"Let
a
me figure that
membership, and
out
it
and
was
get
just
right
like
back to you."
wild. Yes, yeah. So it all came from like people asking, and the need was there. And so then I would create the next thing and create the next thing. So it's been a wild ride, and I love it.
Yeah. And how you said how long into business were you at the time whenever this happened,
Hmm.
COVID?
So I started in '07. Blush was born in the summer of '07. So 2020, 13
14,
years.
yeah, 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
And how old
Yeah.
were you at the time?
Oh gosh. So how long? I guess I was turning 40 that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big,
So
like,
yeah.
40 and then all of this happening at once. That's always to me, like, when you hit a new era, it's
Yeah.
like the world is giving you your next path and your next chapter.
Yeah, I will say I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you listen to How I Built This
Mm-mm.
with Guy Raz. It's a podcast. It's on NPR. It is my favorite podcast. Every single Monday, I wait for that podcast to drop because I'm like, I love it. They interview big businesses and
Mhm.
how they started, and they're only founders. So The founder has to still be alive, obviously, for them
Right.
to do the interview. But it's interesting because you hear from founders like Five Guys Burgers or Crate and Barrel, or I mean, wild companies, and they're talking about their beginnings. And like the guy from Five Guys, I always resonate so much with his story because he was in his mid 40s and he had so many
Mhm.
failed businesses and really was like, I'm clearly not cut out to be a business owner. And then kind of like took a stab at this burger joint with his kids, his boys, which is why it's called Five Guys. And it took off, but he was in his mid 40s. And so anytime I hear of like an entrepreneur that kind of is not young, it always makes me think, okay, yes, like you can build a second thing, or you can have your best success in your 40s. And a lot of times I think we think once you hit 40, oh, I hope you've figured out what you're doing, but yeah, it's a whole different ballgame now for us.
Well, and we just, like, try to rush the process.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm gonna be 30 in a couple months, and
Uh-huh.
I've accomplished a lot. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
But people like you or the Five Guys or any of those stories where it's like, there's just so much more time available and there's so much more
Yeah.
opportunity. Like I've barely even scratched the surface. And we try to rush through the failures or we try to avoid them completely. Or, we really get this mindset that like, there's not going to be these ups and these downs and these valleys. And that's literally the whole point of entrepreneurship. So
It
it,
really
it shouldn't
is.
be
I
a
mean,
discouraging, if you do have a
yeah.
failure or you feel like you haven't quite found that thing yet, like just keep going, keep trying.
Yeah, keep trying different things. I mean, that's kind of like the brain of an entrepreneur, right? Like, I
Yes.
I say to my husband a lot, I'm like, I wish I could just like stop building. Like, I feel like we're just always building. And he was like,
Mhm.
you would be miserable. It wouldn't happen, because you're constantly like, well, we hit that milestone. Let's move on to the next one. And Dan Martell, I gave his book away at the summit
Mhm.
when we were there this year. He he talks about how, so many people think like, oh, once you get to like 60, I mean, you should be in retirement. And he's like, what the heck is retirement? Who wants to sit around and wait to die anyway? Right. So he's like,
Right.
if you really think about it, I mean, if you're healthy and you're vibrant and you're excited about what you're doing, I mean, you work because you love it, not because it's
Yes.
like, oh, I have to grind every day. And so his philosophy is like create something that you love to do so that you have more time because you want to do it. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's something that has resonated with me a lot because my kids are older now. We're able to travel without them, which that just happened
Mhm.
this year. My oldest is 19 and we'll do like a little overnight 1 or 2 nights without them and that's like a whole different ballgame because what's been interesting to me is like my husband and I can now I feel more confident taking speaking events where my husband can come or one of my
Mhm.
daughters can come and I don't have to worry about like having a babysitter or leaving them at home and so that's been something that's been really fun too because I'm like I'm way more excited to travel and speak because I can now do it either with my husband or with one of my girls and we can have a blast together and make a trip out of it. So, yeah, it's just a whole new world.
I love that. I wanna get into that actually,
Okay.
raising kids because you have 3 daughters, right? And their
Mhm.
youngest is 13 and oldest is
Yep.
19?
Yep.
What was it like building your business while being a mom? Which I mean, that's a big, broad question, but I would love to hear, like, what are some of the experiences you went through where you were maybe having to decide between business and being a
Mm,
mom or even the mom guilt that comes with wanting to have your identity outside of that? I would love to just hear, like, what that season of life was like before they were older.
yeah. When I see people on like threads or Instagram that are like, oh, this season is so hard, I feel like I wish I would have had like a secret hidden camera so that I could
Mm.
say, back then that I could say, that watch, I promise you I felt this. I promise you I went through this. Like it's just hard. Like you have
Yeah.
littles and, so my husband his job was nuts when the girls were little. I quit my corporate job when our oldest was 1 and
Okay.
started Blush and his job was wild. Like, he left for work at 5 a.m. and would rarely get home before, like, 7 or 8 PM,
Wow.
and it was
So you were
awful.
solo
And
parenting and running a business with a baby, basically.
yes, yes, and it was so insane. I was just like, "I don't know how this is working." So, we had our 2nd, and then our 3rd was a surprise,
Mm.
and it I remember just crying. I was like, "I cannot do this. Like, I will leave a child somewhere. It's not gonna work," because the business was thriving. And I will
Yep.
say Blush's, business story is a very charmed story. Like, it was successful from the beginning. I not from luck. I mean, I grinded, but
Mhm.
it was a very like, we worked we went fast. And so the great thing is that, like, this business is scaling. The terrible thing is I'm also building a family at the same time, and it was
Mhm.
crazy. And so we had our third, and I'm telling you, she was born in April. My husband quit his job in October. I I like blacked out. I really think from like April to October, I just was like blacked out because I just told all the time I was like, I'm going to leave a child somewhere. I'm telling you. And that sounds so crazy to hear a mom say, but I just was like, I can't I just don't there's not enough capacity in my brain. Like, we're
Right.
running this business that feels like it's running off the rails, and I'm kind of
Mhm.
not doing it its best service in reality because I feel like I need to pull back on the growth of it, but that stinks too because why am I doing it if I'm
Right.
gonna rein it in? You know what I mean?
And
Like,
you did
why
you have a team at the time, so you're also
I
leading?
did. Yes, I had a
Mhm.
team, but that was back in the days where I didn't know how to build a team, and so it was kinda just like, "I need help, you're good. I need help, you're good." So I had, like,
Right.
11 people working for me that all just kinda, like,
That's so
always were
many people,
looking
though. That's
girl,
like
it was
additional children, 11 plus 3, and then your husband's not home. Like, that sounds
Yes, it was
terrifying.
crazy, and I will say the great thing about my husband is that he always was, like, fully and like, when he did get home, it was like he was all in, and weekends, it was never
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I wish you were home more on the weekends." He was like, "Go, girl, like, go get it," you know?
that's awesome.
And so that part was amazing, but it was just like he wasn't really there, to be honest, on the weekdays. So I ended up saying, here's the thing. I have to sell blush. Like, I don't know what else to do because it's not working. I don't know the point of continuing it if I'm going to stop taking clients. Like, if we're going to pull back on it.
Right.
And I there's no other option but to raise our three, like our three girls are need my attention. And he was like, "No, I'll quit my job." And I was like, "What?" And it was this looking back, I'm like, I don't know what we were thinking. Blush for sure did not make enough money for it to support our entire household. So I still honestly to this day couldn't tell you what our rationale was, but he was just like, "I hate my job. I'm never home and I would rather be home. I'll manage the girls. I'll handle everything at the house. You focus on the business." And I was like, all right. And so he quit his job 2 weeks later. We went all in. It was wild. So for a while, that is what he did. Like, he was kind of almost like a stay-at-home dad. Is he
Yeah.
was just helping with the girls so that we didn't have to have people all the time in the house,
Mhm.
babysitters, and I could just do my thing. And then as the girls were in school and things like that, he was like, I mean, I can help you. Like, what am I mean, I give me something to do, like teach me how to do some of
Yeah.
it. So he just slowly started doing like back end stuff, things that I would work on at midnight, sending out invoices, contracts. Back then we didn't have automations like Dubsado,
Yeah.
right? So everything was on paper. Every payment had to be run manually, all this stuff. So um that's how we did it. And so sometimes I do feel like it's difficult. Like, I know when I tell my story, people are like, well, my husband's not just going to quit his job. And I'm like, I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just telling you that's what we did. And
Right.
we we knew we wanted to build a family business. That was actually my husband's dream,
Mm.
was always to have a family business. We didn't realize it was gonna look like this,
Yeah.
but, he that was always his dream. Like, he had talked about that when we were dating, and, so for him, it was just a no-brainer. He was like, "I'm all in, so what do we need to do?"
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so that's kinda how we ended up raising our girls. He quit his job so Lily's 13, so 13 years ago,
Wow.
and, he did go back to work twice. So I always like to kind of throw that in as a caveat because people think it's like he quit his job and then everything was perfect. I
Sunshine,
mean,
butterflies, yeah.
oh, Taylor, like there were, summers are slow season in my market and
Mhm.
it's like dead. No one gets married here in the summer unless you're
Yeah,
like trying
neither
to
in
do it on
Texas,
the
it's
cheap.
literally disgusting.
Yeah, it's so hot, right? Nobody wants to get married. And so summer was always really challenging, especially because I didn't know. I'm a business owner learning as I go. And we had this huge payroll. And
Mhm.
in the summer, there's no weddings coming in. And so I really hadn't learned how to manage slow season.
Right.
It was our only income coming into our house, and as you guys know, as a business owner, it's like your employees get paid first, right? So, there were summers where we were like, "I don't even know how we're paying the electricity bill." Like, I don't know how I don't know how we're gonna pay our mortgage, you know? And so it it was a challenge for sure for many summers, and then it would be like fall would come and we'd be like, "Oh my gosh, look, we can eat steak," you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was wild because I don't know why it took me so long to figure out, like, "Hey, girl, like, you might need to figure out how to make it all flow." But I remember so he went back to work twice. When I say he went back to work, one of the blessings for us, we met, when I was a bartender, he was a server, and so he went back to that restaurant twice. And
Mhm.
I like to share that because one of the things I think that I love about my husband so much or that impresses me so much about him is the man is like, whatever I need to do for my family. He
Yeah.
had no qualms at all. He was like, I need to go back to serve for a couple months so we can like get some cash in the door, whatever. I don't care. And that's something that I know a lot of people won't do. It's like a pride thing, right? And
Yes.
so I do like to share that because I think some people feel like they're failing if they're like, well, my husband quit, but then we couldn't make it. And I'm like, that's okay. Like it takes time to figure it out. And sometimes
Mm.
maybe they have to go back to work for a season or whatever. So he went back to work twice. And that was years ago. And then we figured out how
How to get it
to
right.
get it right, which is honestly when I became a coach and when I started really thinking like, what do I want to teach people? It's that part of business. It's like you're successful, right? In air quotes for
Mhm.
anybody that can't see, you're successful from what everyone else can see. But on the back end, it's like you're not taking a salary or you're not taking enough of a salary or you don't know how you're going to pay the bills that month or you're just praying enough invoices get paid that month to pay the bills
Right.
and you don't know what next month looks like. And for me, we ran our business that way for so long. And I honestly didn't know how to get help because it was like, one, I was like the market leader, right, in my industry. So it's
Mhm.
like, how am I supposed to go get help and say, like, hey, by the way, I'm not paying myself a salary, you know? Um, and and also it you just feel kind of stupid. Like you're like, why can't I make this work? Like we make a ton of revenue. Why are there months I can't take payroll? So that middle piece feels so difficult, and so when I became a coach, I was like, "I know I don't wanna teach beginners," like, there's so many coaches out there for that,
Yep.
but I felt like there was this void of people that were speaking to what I call the middlepreneurs who were like, "I'm successful, I know how to get business, I know how to get clients, I don't know how to make it all work,
And
and
make
how
it
to,
work
like."
long term.
Yes, how to
Yes.
love it and how to, like, not feel like I work 80 hours a week and get paid nothing, you know?
Mhm.
And so that's where I'm most passionate. I Those are my people. I love it. I'm like, "Let me get into your business because it
Yeah.
took me a long time to learn it. But once I did, I was like, "This is so freeing." I mean, I remember one summer, I can still remember my husband pacing our living room and just being like, "We cannot pay the mortgage." Like, I don't know what else to say. There's nothing else left. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, "Please tell me we will not do this another summer. Like, this has to be the last time." And I was like, it was almost
Mhm.
like my wake up call to be like, "You're right. You're right. Like, whatever we're doing isn't a business. Whatever this is,
Mm.
it's not a business because a business would not feel like this." And I've learned obviously businesses do have ups and downs, but it's been really exciting to kind of learn like profitability, how to read a P&L, how to forecast, all of that stuff that just makes you so much more confident as a business owner.
Yeah, well, and confident to actually grow it or sell it
Yes.
or build it
Yes.
even further, which like you to your point, people get to that successful point and then they just get stuck and that's often when people quit
Hmm.
or they throw in the towel or they think I'm
Yeah.
not cut out for this or like your experience the partner goes back to work and then they realize oh isn't going to work out
Yeah.
but forever and in reality there's just this gap of knowledge and it's not anyone's
Yeah.
fault it's just something that has to be pursued and understood and then implemented.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, understanding what you're building, right? So,
Mhm.
sometimes people will say like, their husband has a great job and they love it and it has tons of perks and benefits and I'm like, that's awesome. If
Mhm.
you are building more of like a lifestyle business where your business is really meant to kind of one, fulfill you, but two, to, vacation money, kids sports money, like what that's totally fine. You don't have to do what I did, right? Like, you
Yep.
don't have to build this big thing. For us, we knew it was what we wanted our family to be. So I don't think I knew that right away, but certainly as the business started growing, we started realizing we were having a lot of success. It was, this could be what we all do together, what, our
Mhm.
family business is. And so for us, it was like sacrificing missing a soccer game to know that
Mm.
hopefully we were building so that when they were older, I would be present. That was kind of the thing I always would tell myself when they were little. I tried to make it to as much as I possibly could, but the reality is I worked Saturdays. I worked almost every Saturday
Mhm.
and for a long time. And, I always would encourage my kids to do sports that didn't have Saturdays involved because I knew it would break me and it would break. I always thought I was traumatizing them. The reality is, you guys, they don't even remember me not being there.
You're speaking to me right
Just so
now. You're
crazy.
speaking to me.
It's so crazy the trauma we put ourselves through. Like, if I would
Oh
miss
my
a soccer
god.
game, I would literally bawl my eyes out, and they don't even remember.
There's literally days where I feel like I'm on my computer all
Uh-huh.
day or on my phone. And one day, this was this summer, I called my husband because he works out of the home in a corporate job. He travels a lot, etc. And I was like, I am literally just failing them. Like I'm always
Mhm.
working this and that. And he's like, you're literally at home. There
Yeah.
are parents who cannot be at home with their kids. You get to be there and you get to tell them, hey, I have to get on a call or come work in my office. Like he was like,
Yep.
yeah, obviously we can work on creating a better boundaries and schedules, but you're there.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to your husband because there's not everybody has a spouse like that. Some
Hmm.
spouses would say like, "Babe, I really think, then you should focus on the kids more."
Hmm.
And it's like,
Hmm.
"Okay, hang on." And because it is hard and you need a spouse that can say that to you, can say
Yep.
like, "But babe, think about what you get to have, right?"
Yep.
And I will say I do like I love that you're speaking to me. There's so many young parents who listen, and I want you to hear me say that is like, one, my two younger girls, when I tell you they do not remember me leaving for weddings, and I would cry leaving for a wedding, neither one of them remember me being gone on Saturdays. They would be like even now, if I do leave on a Saturday for like I just did my last wedding in March, if I leave, they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, it feels so foreign to them. Now, my oldest does remember, but she remembers that my husband took her to Disney on Saturdays, or like
Right.
they would go on adventures on Saturdays. So her version of it isn't, my
Mhm.
mom was never there. Um, she remembers, like, I cannot tell you how many soccer games I went to in a black cocktail dress because I would literally be like, I can watch the first half and then I've got to haul to
Gotta
a
go.
wedding. And so, like, we did things like that, or like I actually hired a planner from Tampa to come help me with a wedding because it was such a huge wedding and I
Mhm.
needed somebody like amazing. Because I was like, I have to leave for 3 hours. I can't believe I'm actually doing this, but my daughter is making the podium at her gymnastics meet. So I'm like, I'm flying across town in a black cocktail dress. I hired this lead planner from another market to come help just like manage things while I was gone. My team was there too, but still. And so fly to the other side of town, watch her get on the podium, and then fly back to the other side of town to do this wedding. So,
Oh
like,
my goodness.
I did all of that and I traumatized myself thinking they will remember this. They'll remember I wasn't there. And the reality is they don't. One. And two, now that they're teenagers, I have three girls. So I mean, imagine like it's
Yeah.
tears and happiness and friendships are like all the things. And now, because I spent that time building it, now I have a team that goes out on Saturdays. Like, I don't do weddings anymore. Last whole year I had 3 weddings. So this year I have 1. So I'm home when I think it's a lot more needed. Like, I work from
Right.
home. They see me. I don't have to worry about missing prom or booking a wedding over prom. Like, I don't miss those things because I put the time in then. So if I can encourage you at all, it would be obviously have a balance, but like
Yeah.
know what you're building. And if you're building something for your family, put the time in when they're younger. And that way you can kind of reap the benefit of it as they get older. So I I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, my child was knocking on the door, but I think he stopped.
I
Yeah, he
love it.
stopped.
That's so fun. We have
Oh,
signs
wait,
all
hold on.
over,
I'm so
like,
sorry, Brandy. What
"No, you're
sign?
fine, good."
Not right now. You need to wait till I'm finished. Okay, no, because I'm right in the middle of something, please. After this, I will get it down. It's not even somewhere you can reach it. Close the door. I know. Thank you. Yes.
I love that that just happened. Please keep that in this episode because
Right, right in the middle of us
I
talking about
love it.
this.
It's
No,
so
it's
funny because it's what every parent goes through, literally this.
yeah, and it feels so hard. It's especially for women like us, parents like
Yeah.
us who do feel so called to a career or they have an identity and like they have a passion, but then like I love being a mom and I that's why I built the
Yeah.
business was because I wanted to be home, but then there's
Yep.
guilt. I mean, it's just I feel like though no matter what you do, working in the home, out of the home, nanny, no nanny, school, like you
Yeah.
always are going to have situations where you're like, am I doing the right thing for my kids?
You're
But I do
always
feel
gonna
like it's
have that.
just hard at this season of life when they're
Mhm.
this young. It's just hard, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard. I think every season is hard, honestly, Taylor. And it's just the mom guilt that we have. But
Mhm.
one of the things that I've really loved is like my girls do get to see us working hard.
Yeah.
They see how hard entrepreneurship is. Like one of them is really excited about being an entrepreneur, one of them is not. And
Mhm.
so, it kind of just depends on that kind of thing. But one of the blessings for us is that, we've given up a lot financially. Like for sure, if my husband still had a job that paid a paycheck, like there would be a lot of things that probably we could have done. But one of the blessings of it is that we're both home all the time. So
Yeah.
like they come home from school, we're here. We pick them up from school. Well, now they're homeschooled, but like we've always both been present when and that's something that not a lot of families get. So we do try to always remember like that's a blessing for us
Yeah.
that a lot of families don't get. So, yeah, I think I would encourage just like your husband said, as much as you possibly can, and this is me looking back on those hard years,
Yeah.
um, remember, like, try to tell yourself the things you do get to do with them every day. Try to tell
Exactly.
yourself the things that you like, this is a blessing for our family because we get this, right? Like, I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about punching a clock. I don't have to have them in daycare till 6 o'clock at night because we did that for a whole year and a half. The reason I left my corporate job was because my daughter would be the first one dropped off and the last one to leave. And when I
Mhm.
tell you, they would often be standing in the lobby with her because I was
Waiting.
scooting in at like the dot of
Yeah.
time to pick her up. And that sucked. Like I never
Yeah.
want to do that again. So, there's pros and cons to whatever path you choose, but try to look at what you do have.
No, it's such a good reminder to think that way. And one thing I love too about your story, and someone had mentioned this on an episode on this podcast when we were talking about working moms basically and
Yeah.
the woman entrepreneur, and I can't remember who the guest was, but they were like, "You know what's cool too is that you're showing your children how to support a really, really, passionate spouse." And so to
Yeah.
see like, for your girls to see your husband supporting you and, like, putting the ego aside and doing the things that are sometimes considered, like, not the man's job,
Yep.
and for them to know what that looks like to have a partner that really supports you or to be the partner
Mhm.
that's supporting the other one. Like, I think that's such a cool lesson that I didn't even think about when it came to
Mhm.
my own kids of like they get like my son gets to see me working and dad being like, oh, mommy's got a meeting or she's going on this work trip, like when I came to the summit. And it's just kind of planting those seeds in them for their future relationships too, which I love.
Yeah, that's such a good point because it has been hard for my husband, like, especially in the beginning, people would be like, "What do you do all day?" And I'm like, "That's such a bold question." Like, what on earth? No one would ever ask a stay-at-home mom that, ever.
Mm-mm.
And so but they would always ask him, like, "What do you do all day? Do you just, like, play video games? Like, what do you do?" You know? And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But so it has been interesting and it's been hard, but I love that our girls do get to see that and us supporting each other. Like, I love that he when we started doing YouTube and the podcast, he was like, "I want to do this. Like,
He
this
was
is the piece I
excited.
want to own." Yeah. And so it's
Hmm.
been really fun for them to get to see him like learn this and like really support me and we bounce ideas off each other. So the whole thing, it's been really a fun journey, but you kind of never know where your journey is going to take you, right?
Yeah.
So you just kind of like keep walking through open doors.
How do you and your husband have time that's like work is turned off? Because I feel like that would be a huge challenge, both being at home, working in the same business. Like, how do you make time for just you guys as husband and wife?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. People ask us that a lot. I think in the beginning it was hard, like, we didn't ever turn off, and part of that was just we were raising young girls, and so it would just be like these pockets of time where you could chat, about business. One of the things we did probably like 3 years into him starting to work in the business was separate our roles in the business. That helped a
Mm.
ton. In the beginning, it was just kinda like, well, 2 things were wrong with it. 1, I would kinda, like, keep giving him work to do, which made a power balance that felt really
Ah,
gross, like, it was
yep.
not good for either one of us, and so that wasn't fun. So we fixed that pretty quickly, where it was like, "Okay, this is gonna be your responsibility, and this
Mhm.
is gonna be my responsibility, and so we you, like, own that, and I own this, and we can" so that helped with the power balance a lot. Um as the girls have gotten older, we kinda shell time out, and we're good about telling each other, like, "I'm not working right now." So, sometimes he'll wanna edit late at night, and the girls and I will be watching, like, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and he's like, "I don't wanna watch this." So, he'll,
Yeah.
like, go into, the office, and he'll be editing, and he'll pop out and be like, "Hey, why'd you say this in the puck?" And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't wanna talk about it. I don't wanna." And so if it's like we try to be respectful with each other saying like, "I'm not working right now. I know your brain's in work, but I don't wanna talk about it right
Yep.
now." Or, early in the morning, he hates I wake up and I start working immediately, and
Mhm.
he hates it.
Me
So
too.
it
I am the
if
same.
I
I'm, like,
start
instantly up, my brain's, like, emails. My husband's, like well, lately he's been working a lot, but he, like,
Yeah.
runs and does his thing, and I'm like, "Nope,
Yes.
work brain's on because by 2 o'clock, I'm done." Like, my work brain is checking out.
Yep, that's exactly us. Like, he gets up, he goes to the gym, he's reading, and I'm like, "Wait, I'm an hour into the workday already." And I like to check out early. So we do try to kind of find that balance. We set time aside to specifically talk about work, which that's actually something that took us some time to realize we
Mm.
really desperately needed is, like, we now meet every single Friday, and for
Mm.
a while, we tried to make it a date, like, "Oh, this is gonna be our date morning." And I'm like, "No, I don't wanna have a date morning on a weekday." Like, it doesn't work for us. My brain is thinking about all the things. So, we decided to make that our work meeting, and so all week long, if there's, like, something major we need to talk about or just in general we need to talk about that's not urgent, we put it on a list, and then we come together
Mm.
and we look at finances, big expenses that are coming up, honestly, even things for the house, like any trips we're getting ready to go on or speaking events that I'm going to. It's just kinda like a touch base, and we do it every single Friday now, and that has been, like, game changing for us. Um, and so
What about the
if it's not
things that
urgent, we can
aren't
talk about it.
what about the things that aren't business? Like, whether it's parenting or if
Mhm.
you guys have, like, an argument or something that you wanna discuss that's not related to business, do you have a set time that you do that, or does that just kind of happen naturally, like, when it can?
Yeah, it does happen naturally when it can, and remember, our kids are a little bit older, so I
Right,
think
right, right.
that changes the dynamics because, you know, our it's not like we have to, like, settle the kids into a movie to have a conversation. Like, they're
Mhm.
like, we can just,
That's
like,
true.
go outside on the porch or, go talk or whatever. We can go out to dinner and say, like, "Hey, let's go out to dinner tonight. Like, let's talk," or whatever. At our Friday meetings, we do talk about things if it pertains to the kids, like, one of them wants to
Logistics.
do club volleyball.
Mhm.
Does that feel like something we can do? Or, we're going to Korea this fall. Like, let's talk about that. Like, what does that look like? So things like that. But for the most part, like, it's not all glory. Like, obviously, there's, if we're arguing about something stupid and then it like affects the business, or we're arguing about
Right.
something in the business and that affects the house, um, we're both I don't even really know how to say this without sounding like we just figure it out as we go. So please don't think that I'm being like, oh, this is how you do it. We're both in it, like, and we both
Mhm.
remind each other of that. Like, if we get into a big fight, like, neither one of us is walking out the door. Like, we're going to figure it out. So the faster we get
Mhm.
to, hey, let's work this out, the better, right? So we're not gonna let things fester. We just have too much intertwined with each other too. Like, we can't have an argument and let it go for days because we literally have to work together.
That's
So
true.
we have to kind of just work it out quickly. And the other thing too is like we really do try to believe the best in the other person. Like, I know you said something to me that really hurt my feelings. I don't think he meant it that way.
Mhm.
I'm gonna believe that he didn't and try to say like, hey, that really hurt my feelings. So honestly, it's just I don't think that we really have, like, this isn't work time or this is work time.
Yeah.
We definitely have times where we say, "Hey, I'm not working, and I really don't wanna talk about this." Um, but yeah, it's just like our whole lives and our work is intertwined, and
Yeah.
we love it though, so I feel like it just works for us.
Makes it easier too when you do love it and you both wanna be there.
Right, like, we both wanna be there, we both wanna be in our marriage, and that's just something that we're like, we're neither one of us is going anywhere. I think that's the biggest thing is, like,
Yeah.
we're not afraid the other person's gonna walk out the door, and I that's a really big deal for us, so it's like, might as well work it out faster because 'cause we're just gonna live in misery or we need to work it out, you know?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that 'cause, I don't know if you've heard much of my story, but I was married
Mhm.
before,
Okay.
teen bride basically in the church, and then got married to my husband. We got married last year, but we've been together our 7-year anniversary is coming up next month.
Wow.
And it took me a long time because I was so burned from divorce and I was young. And then, like, we met on very interesting terms. And I was just in such a weird place in life and things happened
Yeah.
really quickly. And he would always tell me, like, I'm not going anywhere because I would get, insecure or I would get very, like, just really closed off with my feelings because I'd be too scared to push someone away, which is more of like a
Yeah.
childhood trauma type thing. We're going really deep right here. But he would always tell me, like, I'm not going anywhere. And it took me finally like years to be like, oh, you're really not going anywhere. So
I
like
think
I
that's
can
a big
be,
deal.
yeah, like I can be more open or we can have
Mhm.
hard conversations or I can speak my mind more freely because I would just really internalize everything and never
Mhm.
open up about not even just stuff with him, but myself because I
Yeah.
was so scared he was gonna, walk away. So I love that you bring that up because I think it's in a marriage, both of you have
Mhm.
to have that mindset of like, if we're both in it, then we can work on things and we can be open and we
Right.
can like be partners,
Mhm.
whether it is business or parenting or just like your relationship and your intimacy.
Yeah, I think anytime you feel like you're working in a silo, like I'm doing everything and he's
Mhm.
doing nothing or vice versa, right? It's like for us, we've had those periods, don't get me wrong. Like there's we've been married 21 years this year and
Wow.
I there are so many times both of us would say that we were like, "Oh my gosh, are we really going to make it through this?" Because marriage is hard. But I
Mhm.
think I love that your husband says to you, like, "I'm not going anywhere," because
Mhm.
I think that's what both of us are just like. If divorce isn't on the table,
Right. Where do you go from here? You got to make it work.
like, yeah, like we got to make it work or we're both miserable, right? And so
Mhm.
we might as well work it out. And I want to enjoy being married and like raising our girls and I want them to see us have conflict. They trust me, they see us have conflict, whether it's about the business or, I mean, my husband will get so frustrated with me for like something I did on the podcast. He'll be like, "Women, I've literally asked you to stop making my life so difficult in editing because you do XYZ, right?" Or whatever. And I'm like, "You don't understand how hard it is to be interviewing a guest." And, so it's like those kind of things are so stupid, right? But they can escalate if you don't. So,
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, for us, it's just we're in it. So we might as well make it great. So, like, how do we make it great? And so
Yeah.
I will say, though, like, everybody thinks there's this magic of like, you have to have hours where you won't talk about work, or you have to have hours where you will talk about work. At the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, the reality is your business is you to some degree, right? Should your entire identity be wrapped up in your business? No. But as an entrepreneur, it's like you're always thinking about the next goal, about the next process, about how you can do something better. Like you're just always trying to make things better. And so you kind of if you're working with your spouse, it kind of just happens. It's like our business is us. We are our business. We love it. It works for us, you know?
Yeah. Well, I love that you lead your story with like, this might not work for everyone, but this is our story.
Yeah.
This is how we've done it. And obviously, you've built something super successful, not just financially, but like you have a beautiful family. You have this amazing family business. That's why I was saying at the beginning of the episode, the modern family business, which it wasn't even
Yeah.
what you're planning, but it works and it has worked. And I'm sure there's just so much opportunity left to even uncover between, Wedding Pro CEO and Blush and even your children hopefully one day having a part in something like that too. So
Yeah.
I love that you just showed up super honest and real in this conversation. It's very refreshing.
Thank you. Yeah. I love getting to share with young families who are like, this feels
Yeah.
hard. I'm like, it is hard.
It's so hard sometimes.
It's
That's
hard.
the thing. It's always one of those questions of like, I think I'm doing the right thing, but it's really should it be this hard? But I think,
You
yeah,
don't
like
know.
we've talked about, it's so seasonal too, you know, every
Yeah,
season
I
brings
mean,
different challenges.
it does, because like, our like, I kinda mentioned our girls are homeschooled now, they go to school well, one of them now goes to school 2 days a week. Our middle asked to stay home full time this year, and
Mm.
so I say that because I'm like, we still don't know if we're doing the right thing. I'm like, I don't know if she should be homeschooled full time. Like, she wants to do it because she has a pretty successful Bookstagram account and she wants to
Oh.
be an online influencer. And we're like, I mean, she watches us do it, right? So I'm like, I
Right,
get it.
right.
And the opportunity for their age group to make money online and have these amazing opportunities. I'm like, why would I make you go to school 8 hours a day if you can finish school at home in 2 hours a day and
Yep.
you can do this if that's what you want to do? So everybody has different paths, but you never know whether you're doing the right thing. Honestly, I
Yeah.
feel like, well, I hope this doesn't ruin her, but she's like, I don't care about graduation. I don't care about prom. Like, this is what I want to do. And we're like, okay, I hope she doesn't regret that one day, but we won't know. Right. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, let's try it. So you never know. You just have to do what you think is best in the moment.
That's true. If it makes you feel better, I actually did that. Not for an
Okay.
influencer, but in my after my sophomore year in public school, I went to public school my whole life.
Uh huh.
I went to online school so I could work. I had a really good job at Starbucks and I was making a lot of money to pay
Yeah.
for school, which I wanted to go to school for art. And we didn't have enough money for my family to pay for college. So
Okay.
I did online schooling and I didn't do prom. I didn't do like graduation. I graduated early, but I graduated a year early and with a year under my belt already in college. And I became a manager at Starbucks at 18. So
Wow.
even though, I mean, there's times where I'm like, man, it would have been cool to like go to prom and stuff like that. It created such good work ethic and experience immediately where a lot of my peers, they weren't even working until they were in college or even after
Right.
college. And I just had
After
this
college.
upper hand of like experience from 16. So by the time I'm
Mm-hmm.
21 applying for jobs, I've already been a leader in this role and have the rapport and the reference. So, if she's determined and has good work ethic, like it can really work in her favor. So,
That does make me feel better because I'm like, I was like that. Like, I mean, I went to school all of my years. It was a different time back then. It wasn't as easy to just be like, yeah,
mhm.
I'm just gonna do online
Yeah.
school. That wasn't a thing, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited for her. But that's her goal. She's like, I want to finish school this year. It's her
Yep.
junior year, and I wanna do this. And I'm like, okay, like, let's
Yep.
do it. I mean, I think you can. She's so driven. So everybody has a different path, but as a parent, I don't think you ever know, like, am I doing
Right.
the right thing? Am I teaching them the right thing? You just kind of have to put one foot in front of the other and pray that you're doing the right thing and, for them. And every kid's different too. So
Mhm.
it's a wild ride, but we're loving it. And
Yeah.
as a business owner, you get to give your kids those opportunities because you
Yep.
don't have to be like, no, you have to go to school every single day because I'm working at a corporate job, right? Like, you have
Right.
that flexibility to kind of do those things with your kids. So we'll see how it
Yes.
goes.
So good. Thank you so much, Brandy, for being here, for
Yeah.
talking about your story. Where can people work with you? And are you taking in new people to Wedding Pro CEO? Are you taking on weddings?
Yes.
Obviously not you, but Blush. Like, tell us all the things.
Yeah, so I am always on Instagram. So you can connect with me over at Brandee Gaar on Instagram. Shoot me a DM and say that you heard me on the Ironically Serious podcast because I love getting DMs. And we're always taking new students at Wedding Pro CEO. So please pop over to weddingproceo.com and book a call with our team. We do free gap assessment calls where we'll go through your business with you and help you to see
Mm.
where the gap is in scaling your business. Our team will work with you on that. And then if it's something that we feel like, yeah, we can help you to really scale this, then we'll talk about options within Wedding Pro CEO to do that. But head
Mm.
over to weddingproceo.com and book a call with our team. We'd love to see it in there.
Love that. I love that you do the gap
Yes.
assessment. That's very smart because a lot of coaches are like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just joined the program. But then you're wondering, is this even right for me? So that is awesome.
Well,
And I know a lot
yeah.
of wedding pros listen to this podcast. So
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah. So we try to make sure it's going to be a good fit before we put you into the program. So it's a fun call, even if you just get some strategy from it. If it's not a good fit for Wedding Pro CEO, you just get some strategy. But I loved this podcast, Taylor. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
thanks for being here, Brandy.